Hello, and welcome to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh. I am in the studio in Southern California with my good friend Ryan Esteban, who's our video producer. How are you, Ryan?
Doing great. I think it's going to rain soon.
It is going to rain soon, we're getting rain for the first time this season.
Feels like forever.
In Southern California. And then we also have Kathy Baker, who it sounds like is freezing in the rain right now.
Yep, icy rain. Just let it freeze before it falls.
When you say icy rain, you mean that it's like 33 degrees and raining, so it's not quite...
And icy rain is interesting because that clings to the power lines and that really causes a lot of damage. So it's raining when it comes through the clouds and then it freezes when it hits. So it's not coming as sleet or snow. It's actually rain that freezes.
Got it.
So it's very damaging. And it only takes like 1/10 of an inch or, a 1/4 of an inch would do significant tree damage.
So does that hurt?
When it good. Yeah, like hail?
Down? Yeah.
Like a mofo. Yes, it like raining razor blades.
Jeez. Well, we have a pretty awesome guest that I know we've wanted to have on here for a very, very long time. Yes. We all have a good relationship with this man. I think everyone in this company has some sort of relationship with this man. Kathy, I'm going to let you introduce him in a second. Before we do, my question today is actually inspired by our guest because I love our guest's car, and I always remember his car every time that we get together. And so I might have actually asked this question before.
His car. Not aware of this.
Kathy and Ryan, and we'll ask our guest in a second. What is your dream car? I may have asked this question before. Did I ask this?
I think we did this.
Well, let's maybe your questions or maybe your answers have changed. Kathy, I'm going to start with you.
I don't even know that I have a dream car. Honestly, I just want Carolina to win, which is a whole nother subject that we're not going to talk about today. It's hard to be a Tar Heel fan. I don't know. I'm thinking probably something fast, like really fast.
Okay.
Classic Volkswagen bus.
Oh, that's good.
We talked about this when we asked this last time. I said I wanted the electric one. Just still cool.
Okay, so now I'm just remembering. Now I
but I want it'd be fun to just have the old school one to take surfing and stuff.
And from a marketing standpoint, have you seen the new VW bus commercials?
Yes,
they're great, amazing. And yeah, you're right. Because I said mine is a Rolls Royce with a driver. I remember saying this, which that is still my answer, by the way. Kathy, do you want to introduce our guest, and then I will ask him his question, even though he probably already drives his dream car?
Well, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Clarke is a good friend of ours. He is he's number one in a lot of places, number one in our hearts. Very first franchise sold. He and his wife believed in us before we even believed in us, probably.
Yep.
Had faith in Kuba way before Kuba even knew his own power. So, Clarke, tell us, first of all, what is your dream car?
Well, what day of the week is it? I had a couple, and the new Volkswagen electric bus is really nice.
It's cool.
Yeah, stamp of approval. There you go.
And my brother-in-law just got one. I haven't
nice.
seen it yet. He's just down the road. He told me to come by and see it. And he's been a Volkswagen person all his life. Of course, he's German, just like his sister Barbara. And he's owned a foreign auto house, and they specialize in Volkswagens.
Got it.
So
that's awesome.
He's definitely right there. So if not that, if it's Friday and I'm going to be off for the weekend, I'll take it Audi R8.
I love that.
For speed.
Also German engineering.
I've got a question. Is Audi the upgrade of Volkswagen? Are they the same ownership?
It's the same company, yeah.
Yeah, same company.
Yeah.
Volkswagen owns Audi. They also own a portion of Rolls-Royce. Those aircraft engines, they're a huge manufacturer.
Wow, we've got a car man on the call today.
It's a first.
And I think we could talk cars probably for the next hour, Clarke, but
at least.
I want to hear and we have to keep this within 20 minutes because I know we could like talk for hours about this, but I want to hear the the 30-second to minute version of how you and Barbara got started with Realty ONE Group.
You know, it was an amazing journey. My wife had a partner in another brokerage that had, I won't say it, but kind of similar in a way. And there was a partnership dispute there. Probably the best thing that ever happened to Barbara and I in our lives. And every year we always want to send roses over to her old partner to say thank you for the direction that we went in. But during that period of time, our attorney was saying, you know, why don't you just be Barbara Baker Realty and go from there? And Barbara said, no, I want to be Realty ONE. And it's interesting, as this came about, we kept, you know, we've been following what ROG was doing as a corporate office. And there was in Inman News one day, there was a little tiny thing about ROG is now going to start taking franchises. Well, that was a Friday afternoon. And a lot of phone calls later, we finally got in touch with the young lady in Seattle who wrote the article, and she gave us a phone number. And we called that phone number, and that started our journey. And so we went down and actually met with Kuba on the 3rd of July and down in Laguna Niguel at the office down there. And it was a really interesting meeting because, to be truthful, I went shopping a little bit beforehand. I went to one of the corporate offices and went in and said, you know, tell me about yourself and what's going on here. And they kept saying, you know, Kuba this, Kuba that. And I was like, really, like, what is Kuba? You know,
is it a person?
What is Kuba? Yeah, you know, it was like, or whatever. So anyway, when we got down there, Barbara and I sat at the table, and Kuba was outside on the other side of the glass wall. And it was kind of interesting. We said to each other, said, the guy out there in the t-shirt and the jeans and the tennis shoes, that's got to be Kuba. And lo and behold, as we all know, that is Kuba, 100%. So we came in, sat down, and we had probably a half hour, 45-minute discussion. And the entire time, my wife and I were knee knocking underneath the table saying, this is it. This is where we want to go. So there was, you know, and meanwhile, they're doing a 4th of July cookout outside the office there. And, you know, Kuba said, why don't you come back on Saturday, go think about it, and we'll talk on Saturday. Well, Friday, we got this rush phone call, said, can you come down here? Because I've got people from, at that time, corporate was over in Las Vegas. Yeah. So I got some people here I want you to meet and kind of go through, you know, our back end and what we're about. So we hurried on down there and met, and after they had, you know, the main crowd had to go back to Vegas, so they went and left to go to the airport. So we had this discussion, you know, with Kuba, and it got down to, Kuba said, well, what do you guys think? We said, well, we want to be one. We want to be with you. And Barbara said, do you really know who we are? You know, have you checked us? Have you checked our background? Yeah. And he said, I don't need to. He said, I can read it in you. And so it was, and as he kind of said, it was a leap of faith on both sides, because, you know, at that time, you know, there wasn't a lot of black and gold signs hanging around, especially in our neighborhood out here in Temecula. There were not. And so it was like, we were 100% ready to go. And to this day, it's still the best decision we've ever made. And that was an experience that will be forever engraved in my mind. And I, you know, when people talk to me about those first two meetings with Kuba, and as I said earlier, sometimes I get a little teary-eyed about this, and I kind of choke up. That's the love in the family that's part of one, and that's the great experience. And Barbara and I have always been great family people. You know, we have a blended family. Actually, part of the family's back there in North Carolina, not too far from where Kathy's at, and part of them are here in California. But it was always the fact that one is that it's simply one, and it's family.
Yeah.
So, that kind of started the journey, and we still had the situation. And at that time, the franchise agreement wasn't fully executed yet. So we had a little wait. Plus, we had a waiting situation for Barbara to be separated from the other brokerage firm that she was with.
Yeah.
Which was a story in its own. And once that happened, because we originally signed up in October of 2012, and we went active, we were somewhat active, but we hit it full force January 1st and went on from there.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, the other company made life kind of miserable for us because they were, Barbara was also their first franchise. So there was a lot there. But Kuba exudes this feeling of warmth and family.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a leap of faith on his side to say, all right, Barbara and Clarke, come on board and we'll go from there. And I'll tell you, there was never a day that we looked back and said, oops, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's always been, this is the greatest thing, and we keep moving forward. And we always encourage everybody else to come on board. And, during the early phase, I can remember many days coming in and sitting in Barbara's office with her and talking to people on the phone or in person about the story of how we started and what Realty ONE Group was about.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I look back at so many of those people. Not everybody joined. Most of them did. Some of them took a little extra time to think about it, but they got on board. But I think of that first group of people, how amazing they all were.
Yeah.
Because they too grabbed hold of what we are and were able to go forward and continue to go forward with it.
I think it's, Kathy, what you said at the beginning, it's such a testament to your guys' intuition and ability to take a very calculated risk. You're the first franchise office. We now have over 450 offices, and you guys are still going strong. I know you've said it now twice that it's still the greatest decision that you and Barbara ever made. And Kathy, I know you have a very special relationship with Kuba. We all have a very special relationship with Kuba. I mean, when I started at Realty ONE Group, when I met with Kuba, I was like, this guy is the brand. And I want to know, maybe because we don't have Kuba on the podcast yet, Kathy, I want to know what you think he was thinking in that moment. Because Kuba's a very good judge of character. I feel like he knows people and what they're thinking and want to do very, very quickly.
I believe Barbara, just such a contagious spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her love and her care for people spoke so well to the brand.
Yeah.
And it was that attraction factor of, her work ethic. The combination of talent and passion between Clarke and Barbara,
Mm-hmm.
that magic, I'm sure he recognized would really, the saying, one log makes a lousy fire. And just the fact that these two were burning so brightly and that they were able to take the brand and literally light it up in Temecula, and hundreds of agents later. What, Clarke, you're so modest in speaking about is not only your ability to attract talent and really have such a great market share in Temecula, but your ability to retain agents.
Yeah.
That, what you see is what you get, and you guys are you've lived that. And, we always say recruiting is telling your story and retention is living the story you tell. And I think that's what Kuba saw. He saw in Clarke and Barbara the ability for somebody to take his passion and just convey it very beautifully into a new market.
Well, that's very true. That's one thing that we've always talked about. And I mean, somebody could come in to interview with Barbara, and sometimes it was 30 minutes, sometimes it was an hour, sometimes it was 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because Barbara and we always tell the story of who Kuba is and how he represents, or how he built Realty ONE. And it's a very easy thing. And one thing about that first meeting with Kuba, Um, I normally, you're probably hearing me talk more today than I talk normally in 2 weeks. I'm a listener. I sit back and listen, and that's part of, I had another occupation before real estate that was kind of explosive, and that you can figure it out from that word. And so in that meeting, I sat next to Barbara and watched and listened and actually didn't say a whole lot, but I was absorbing what was going on. And probably a year later, we were somewhere with Kuba, and he said, Clarke, he said, I want to tell you something. He said, you scared the hell out of me that meeting. I said, how the hell can I do that? He said, because I couldn't read you. And he said, and that's he can read people. He understands what's going on. And he said, I'll tell you what, he said, we're never going to play poker together because
you just stole the words right out of my mouth, Clarke. I was like, you're probably a hell of a poker player.
Actually, I don't. I have enough other things I do. But anyway, that's, Kathy, you're exactly right. Kuba has that ability to reach out and pull forth from people the best of each person.
Yeah.
And he can then take that and blend it into this wonderful, wonderful company we have. And it's, like I said, it's always amazing. And I can remember, the first couple times, we still do. Once a month I have a breakfast meeting for my agents, and we go over the board. They get a catered breakfast. We always have a really good person. Matter of fact, we got a really great person at tomorrow's meeting. Mark's going to be here, and
Cool.
and my agents, Mark Hudson, and he will be up here and give us a little bump for the new year. And that's one thing. There, like I said, Kuba can reach out and pull the best of the world in together to create this company. But in our little monthly meetings early on, when we were smaller, there was one time, and Kuba came and he was there, and he came to Barbara and I, and he said, do you mind if I sit in the back of the room with you? He said, because I don't like to be up front of the room. And it was like, he said, I'll take all the questions, but if I can sit back there. But what a change. Now he's the front of the room. You give him the mic and he's going to be there for a while. Yeah. And I think that's just shows you the eternal heart that he has. And it's not only, hey, it's Luba, his wife, and all the kids, the entire family.
Yeah.
I mean, right even down to his parents.
Yep.
Where else can you go to Summit and have the parents of the founder of the company sitting right there and being part of it? I mean, that's an amazing thing in itself.
I completely agree. I think the values that are most important to him run through this company as well. And I mean, I've noticed that. I've been here now for 7 years, and I noticed that on day one, and I still believe that. Clarke, I want to ask you, because you have ran a very, very successful office, a franchised office, since you opened your doors. I want to ask you, maybe if you could give a piece of advice to our newer franchise owners or people that are thinking about opening a Realty ONE Group office. What's something that they can learn from you and from Barbara that has been very successful for you guys through all these years?
Well, I would probably say that, that their growth goes in spurts. You may have, and some of the offices and some of the future offices, they started as another office and they already had their inner workings worked out. Many times you've got a broker that had a little team and they're coming on board too. So as I said, your growth goes in little spurts. You'll go along, and then you get the snowball effect where it really starts to build. But never get discouraged, because around the corner there's somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things is taking the time with each person as they come to you to interview, or as you reach out to them, and that is to take the time and really explain to them what this company is about and what the company has to offer, and what it's not always the dollar. The dollar is very important, but it's how you get that dollar and how you maintain your position in the industry, and being able to support and love and care for other people. Because as we all know, agents are what keeps us in business. If I didn't have any agents, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
Yep.
And that's extremely important.
Kathy, I feel like I need to reach out to Clarke every month when I'm writing because I do our monthly recruiting emails and I do our retention emails too. And I feel like Clarke's mastered retention, which I feel like a lot of people and big brands in this industry really struggle with. Kathy, isn't it a 2 year? 2 years is the average of an agent staying with a brokerage. Is that still the number?
Yes, it is. With NAR, it is. Yeah.
And so the fact that you've mastered retention, Clarke, I think is something to be really proud of. You've honed in on what Ryan and our team try to do every day and build this unique brand, and you use it to your advantage.
Well, I think part of retention is family. I mean, all of our agents here, we're huggers, we're family. I mean, we try to do everything, I try to encourage everything to be that way. And it's interesting you brought up the 2 years, Kathy. Every month, or actually every day, I go through on birthdays and anniversaries of joining the company. I call the agent and give them, and they're not an agent, they're a family member, really.
Yeah.
And I call and say, thank you for being here. Thank you for being our family. And, happy birthday. And on that retention thing, the January and February call list for agents, I was just looking at it again. It sits around the building in a couple different places so we can share it with everybody. And I've got a bunch of 10-year agents that have been here, part of the family for 10 years now. Yeah. And they are the ones, that's another thing about recruiting. And this is, agents are the best recruiting tool you have, because they bring, if you got a good agent, they're going to surround themselves with good agents out there.
Totally.
They're the ones that can pull in agents to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, it's like good people attract good people, good agents attract good agents.
Yeah.
And they're a great recruiter for you.
I just want to say something really quick. I remember I joined the company back in 2013, and I think at that point, you guys had just started becoming the first franchise and stuff. And I remember, I'd probably been working at Realty ONE Group maybe less than a year. I remember we did a whole blitz of corporate office grand openings between here, Vegas, and Arizona. And it was one of the first times I'd gone out for the company and stuff and done photos and videos. And it was great. It was fun. I got to meet a lot of people. But, the offices were corporate offices, so they all looked the same. They all had a very uniform look, and it was very, not to say I didn't love those offices. All those people were great. It had a very corporate feel to it.
Very early days of the brand, though.
Very early days of the brand. And then I remember, I think Clarke and Barbara had an event in Temecula for, I think they had 200 agents. They just got 200 agents to their company. This was late 2014. Mm-hmm. And I remember we had to go out there, shoot some photos and videos. They invited us out there, and me and Josh are originally from the Temecula, Murrieta area. So we know the area pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I just remember the first thing when I got there was, one, the office looked different. It was, kind of had its own unique look. They already had kind of the spurts of the purple color that was very known for you guys as the years went on. And it just felt, like you said, Clarke, a very welcoming, warm, it felt like a family, right? And I think that for me that stood out because you come from all those corporate offices to seeing finally what a franchise looks like for Realty ONE Group. But at the same time, it just felt like you were hanging out with friends and stuff. I'd met you guys for the first time there, I think, and it was just such a warm family vibe that I got. And I think again, that's just kind of what.
And we get that because Clarke, us as a team have now been to your office a few times, and you've taken us to that wonderful winery a couple times. And your office it's like a mini version of the hub. The people are so friendly, and they want to be there. And you guys have. I know I keep harping on this point, but you guys in Temecula have really embraced what we try to preach, especially as a marketing team, what this brand is and what we represent. And that's why we're so thankful to have you on this podcast, is you are a perfect example as we continue to grow as a brand of what offices should be doing to be successful, for lack of other phrases. Kathy, did I say that okay?
Perfectly. Okay. Just absolutely perfectly.
So thank you, Clarke. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate all that you and Barbara have done for the brand. I know I speak for Kuba when I say like you guys are the absolute best. We love seeing you at all the events. We would not be as successful as a brand, as a franchisor without your guys' initial leap of faith. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Well, I thank you very much. And I thank Kuba to the bottom of my heart.
Yeah.
If Barbara was here, of course she'd be wearing purple.
Yeah.
I think she and I together could spend the whole week talking about this, but it really comes down to what you said. We're a family, and the whole company is a family that stays together and helps one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I thank you for that opportunity. And I remember that particular day for the 200 agents. Just to show you Kuba's heart, there was 200 roses that showed up for the same event.
That's really cool. Really cool.
In purple.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you again, Clarke. This has been wonderful. We would love to have you back because I'm sure we could talk stories for hours and create multiple episodes.
All right. Well, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Everybody have a really, really wonderful, and I think we're all primed to have just a fantastic year after a couple of years of doldrums.
Couldn't agree more.
Just get out there and go.
Cool. Thanks, Clarke.
Thanks, Clarke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the One-on-One Podcast, powered by Realty ONE Group. For more information, questions, or concerns, please reach out to coaching@realtyonegroup.com.